You see the influencers on campus doing day in my life videos, vlogs, everything, but I was never thinking that's me. It is tough to get clients. You're in the business of generating leads. You're not in the business of selling real estate. That's a big part of it, but you're in the business of generating leads.
Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Frames. Today we're joined by Matt Phillips. Matt is a creator based in Toronto who is also a TikTok creator posting educational content on real estate and
But I know
finance.
some people who do that got huge followings, but they say I never get clients and they don't really see you. They see the property. People want to just see what you're talking about, even though those videos might not blow up to 100,000, 200,000 views. And a lot of the times when I get an email, it's not, hey, I saw the house tour you posted. It's, hey, I just found your TikTok, very educational. You seem like you really know what you're talking about. What do you think about?
And in my episode with Matt, we talked about his journey on becoming a creator out of undergraduate. We talked about his creative process when it comes to creating TikTok in a consistent manner. And we also talked about the idea and the importance to prioritize building a personal brand than optimizing for traffic. And welcome to my conversation with Matt. I found your background to be really fascinating, just being around a similar age that as I do. I remember you were going through Mac University and you're doing a bunch of finance internships. And what ended up happening when you graduate is to pursue a career in real estate. If I ask some of your closest friends back in university, what do you think of Matt?
At Mac, the thing that I wanted to value most at Mac was just doing extracurriculars. I really didn't want to be a student that just goes to class, goes home, doesn't do anything else. I'm also there to obviously meet people, make friends, and everything. I think that's how you're getting the most value out of it. But if I were to put it on a timeline from my first year, you're just kind of getting your footing. So that's really what I was doing, is just figuring out the campus classes and everything. And then going into my second, third, fourth year is when I started joining more extracurriculars, doing case competitions. I was on the debate team at McMaster, which we ended up winning a couple times. So that was pretty good. But yeah, it was just a lot of joining whatever I can, saying yes to pretty much any opportunity that came. And some stuff you like, some stuff you don't like. But throughout the 4 years, that's where I got the most value. And just the people that you meet, right? The friends that I still have today that I moved downtown with when I first moved to Toronto. Now it's just really kind of blended its way into every facet of my business.
Makes sense. How about your relationships with content platforms? So
Yeah,
let's
with
say
like
with
TikTok and Instagram.
yep.
Yeah, honestly, I never really used it throughout school. TikTok wasn't really big when I was going to McMaster. Probably in like my last year of school, that's when it really became a more popular platform. I had done 5 years of undergrad, which includes a year of internship, which is when I did internships at the banks and everything. So when I went back for my fifth year, which was my fourth year of school, but obviously there was that gap of internship, that's kind of when TikTok started to get popular. But again, like at that point, I still wasn't licensed. I was just about to graduate. So I wasn't licensed as a realtor. But throughout school, I mean, Instagram, you just post whatever you're posting with your friends. But I never used it from a business perspective. It wasn't until getting into real estate that I started using it as a business perspective.
What about the thought of like just like creating content and putting it out there? Like maybe recording random parts of your day or like
Yeah,
random vlogs. Where there's some was that something you were interested in?
not really, honestly. You see the influencers on campus doing day in my life videos, vlogs, everything, but I was never thinking that's me. I'm gonna start recording my day-to-day life. It was always like, who wants to hear what I have to say or see who's interested in what I'm doing day to day? So no, it wasn't ever really a thought until getting into real estate. And even in real estate, I had it was zero expectation of what I, you know, was going to do or how it would help me. It was more just, trying to keep accountability for doing something every day. But no, throughout school, no, it wasn't a consideration.
That's interesting. How far you come along from your university to now being so comfortable on camera and sharing your knowledge and advice. Where did the switch happen, right? Like how can you walk us through a little bit of the process? Like how did you
When I was doing so throughout my undergrad at McMaster, it was always looking to go into finance or marketing. That was the focus. So a lot of my classes were marketing classes, a lot of finance classes, everything. It was just something that I was good at. But I did my internships at the bank. So I did a 4 month placement on the FX trading team with one bank, and then I did a 8 month placement on the innovation team at another bank, which was great. I moved downtown at the time for the first time in downtown Toronto, and it was great. I loved what I was doing, and it was fulfilling. After I finished those internships, you kind of obviously burn out throughout the end of a year or two doing the same thing. But throughout the end of those internships, I was thinking about what I wanted to do because after those internships, I go back to finish my 5th year of school, which I had taken summer classes. So it was very light work. So obviously, I had a lot of time to think about what I want to do post graduation. Um, and yeah, I just kind of got the feeling that kept creeping up was just I could go to work and I can work my ass off. I'll still probably get that, whatever it is, 4% bump annually, which over time is not quick for what I was looking for. Or I could do something where I work for myself and I could work as much as I want, get compensated as much as I want, or take time off when I want. That was a little bit, naive for real estate because real estate, even though you can take time off, you're really in it 24/7. You're at the mercy of, your client's schedule. But still, that was the main focus of, I want to do something where I'm working for myself and I can work as much as I want, get paid as much as I want. I could work less and take time off and do what I need to do. But it's also like it felt like instead of turning the gears for something that I don't own, now I'm turning the gears for something that I do own, and it's directly impacting me. So that was the main focus of why I wanted to change into something that's a little more self-employed.
And of all the self-employed occupations out there, what about real estate that stood out to you the most?
You know what? I have no idea. It was just something I like doing, especially coming in Toronto. Like when I first moved to Toronto during my internships, obviously it's a different way of life. I grew up in Hamilton, right? So in Dundas, just near McMaster University. So coming to Toronto, obviously that's a very, very different vibe to the city and everything. Just seeing how busy everything was, going to certain events here and there, and seeing just the amount of money that people are throwing around in Toronto, it's wild, right? So when you always see the shows selling Sunset and all that, and you're like, wow, that's so appealing. Very different. It's definitely not like that, but I don't know. There was just something about real estate that drew me to it, and I looked up on how to get licensed through Humber College. I actually had a few friends that were realtors. One buddy who was a realtor the day he turned 18 went to McMaster still. He's a few years younger than I am. And I was talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, it's great. You obviously have some balance in terms of time. It's something about it. It just appealed to me. I also didn't know how expensive it was to get your license, but did it anyway and haven't looked back.
And let's say you decided that you wanted to pursue and become a creator, and you went to Humber College, get your license, you start get your reps in, you start talking to people, talking to clients, talking to other creators to learn how the industry works. At what point did you start to look out and be like, maybe this TikTok thing is something that I could
Yeah.
use for my marketing or for
Yeah, it was day
my
one. It was the day after or a couple days after I got licensed, I would have to go check. I can scroll through and look, but um, a few days after I got licensed was when I first posted video. So the reason why I did that was because I didn't realize how tough it was to actually get business, right? Because you see it online, everybody's like, you get into real estate, all you have to do is sell 2, 3 homes a year, and you make $75,000 or $100,000. But I don't think people realize that it's less than 5% of realtors do more than 2 sales a year, which is very low in terms of annual salary, right? If you did 2 sales, especially not even considering Toronto, most of the rest of the province, that's probably like 20, 30,000 before expenses. So that's the vast majority, which stressed me out because as I was getting licensed, when you go through the licensing process, it's a pretty long process. It could be 4 to 6 months of online school, and it's like $8,000 to get it done. So you're already starting in the red pretty far. And while I was doing that, I reached out to a few luxury agents in Toronto and just said, "Hey, I want to learn as much as I can. I'll do whatever for free while I'm getting licensed." So I ended up doing cold calling, just to get on the phone, see how those conversations go with people, which you get told off a lot on the phone when you're cold calling, but it's the name of the game. And just realizing like how many calls you have to make to even have one good conversation, and how many of those conversations you have to convert somebody, which is it's like you're putting in hours and hours and hours to see nothing. And getting new into real estate, you're already in the red, having just spent $8,000 to get licensed. So it's tough. It is tough to get clients. You're in the business of generating leads. You're not in the business of selling real estate. That's a big part of it, but you're in the business of generating leads. You're marketing essentially at the end of the day. But the way this ties into how I got started on TikTok and everything is it's in real estate, you're by yourself. You work for a brokerage and that brokerage employs you. You have to pay to work at that brokerage. You don't get paid to work at the brokerage. So that's another thing that you're already in the red even farther when you join a brokerage. But what I wanted to do was just answer all the questions that I had having gone through the licensing process. Because people just starting that new licensing process through Humber College, you have a lot of questions because there's not really anybody to help you other than Facebook groups. So I thought, but right after I got licensed, what's the number one thing that I was curious about? And it was how much does it cost to get your real estate license in Ontario? It's a big question. Most people don't know the answer. At the time, I don't know if it's changed. It was all in. Your first year is about $8,000, maybe a little over $8,000. And that video did really, really well. It got like over 100,000 views, which exploded. I was like, 100,000 views, like 100,000 people want to listen to what I have to say. Now, at the time, TikTok, the algorithm would amplify, it would boost your first video or your first one or two videos that you post because it was still a not a new platform, but it was generally in its infancy. They were still trying to get a lot of creators to start creating at the time. And again, I don't know if things are changed, and I don't even know if this is true. But from what I've heard, they would amplify your first few videos so that you kind of get addicted to it. You're like, wow, all these people want to watch me. I should post more, post more, post more. Which is what ended up happening. Was going from that to seeing what types of videos people post about real estate and what questions I had when I got licensed, and that's how it got started.
The former part when you talk about the average agent makes less than 2 sell a year, roughly around that range, and also the element of, like, focusing on, like, the top of the funnel because you have to convert from, like, traffic to calls to a tour to a
Yeah,
second tour to, more of the legal stuff, and, like, every step of the way, like, people are dropping out from that, and it's like
yeah,
it takes, like, probably thousands, or if you're very skilled, like, hundreds of people to get
yeah.
to just one sale or one, like, serious conversation, so
And again, I don't know 100%, but the stat is like in the group of cohort students that you would graduate with in your first year, it's half of them would drop out after that because you're spending a lot of money. Like you're running your own business, right? The company that you work for has its brand, but they don't hand you leads. So you really have to, it's a hustle. You have to hustle to get your own business. I want to say I was pretty lucky too. Like it was a bit of luck involved that helped me kind of grow my channel to the size that it is. At the time when I got licensed, there weren't a ton of real estate agents on TikTok. I just had the benefit of somebody who was posting every day. And obviously, people saw that. There's not a ton of other people doing it at the same time. Now there's so many people, hundreds of people posting. That was just the benefit. Like, even though it wasn't a new platform, I was still one of the earlier people to start posting a lot of real estate content. in Toronto, in Canada.
I see. So FYI, the first post that you made, that was back in April 2021, right?
April, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. April, because I got licensed at the end of March.
So let's as you started posting on TikTok back in like April 2020, and
Yeah.
what has been some of the most unexpected things that have come out of it?
Um, yeah, probably everything. Like I really didn't have any expectation. I didn't expect it to be one of the biggest lead generation tools. I'm humbled to have the situation where I don't really spend any money on outbound marketing. I know a lot of people spend tens of thousands of dollars on outbound marketing, so my margins are usually pretty good month to month just cuz the leads that come in through TikTok are pretty solid. I guess it's something that I wouldn't have expected was the referrals, just because I even do that too now. So when people, you could only, I could only trade real estate in Ontario, right? Same with somebody in BC, Alberta, wherever, right? So a lot of the times, obviously, clients move from province to province, or even internationally to the states or Europe, whatnot. And I didn't really anticipate that people would see me across borders. So then I started getting referrals from people in, BC or Alberta or in other areas in the States. And that for me, I was like, wow, like people see your stuff. But I get it at the same time because I do that too now. If I have a client who's moving to the West Coast, the first thing I do is go on TikTok. I type in wherever, Vancouver Realtor, and scroll through, see whose content I like, who seems like they know what they're talking about, do a little bit of research. But it's the first thing I do because you get to see a person's personality and sort of how they approach certain things, even though it's just videos, right? People could perform it or retake a video 100 times before they post. But I think it still tells a lot about what they know or what they can do. So that's what I've used it for as well. And that's something I did not expect. Referrals through the platform, didn't expect that. Clients, sure, you expect that people will see it and maybe reach out to buy, sell, lease, whatever. But yeah, I didn't expect that because real estate, like even though you're working by yourself, there's there's a perception that it's very competitive, which it is. Toronto is the most competitive real estate market in the world. There's one agent for every 59 people. And there's no other city in the world that has that. But there's so much money. There's enough. Everybody can eat. So
Wow, that's a crazy stat.
it's surprising too because it's it's not cheap, right? And you look at states in the US like Florida, I'm pretty sure the course is like 3 days and like $300 to get licensed in a state like Florida, or I don't know about any of the other states, but you look here and it's 4 months at a minimum and about $8,000 in your first year. So I'm like, I don't know why it's so busy. I have my own opinions on how the licensing process works here. I think it's still a little too easy, but yeah, it's so bizarre how it's the most competitive in the world.
Yeah, but there are also areas like New York,
Exactly.
LA,
Yeah.
California.
Yeah.
I could see those could also be a candidate for like the most competitive like real estate market. I didn't know Toronto would come up first.
I
That's
totally
smart.
agree. I have no idea why there aren't as many. I have no idea.
I see, I see. When you're building the TikTok videos, how did you come up with like video ideas? So I know like the bulk of your job, it's about servicing clients, and TikTok you see as a lead generation tool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like how do you think about like what's the weight of like TikTok and content have in your job? And
Yeah.
second, it's like how do you think about like the videos? Like how do you think about the ideas of the videos?
Honestly, it's tough. It's the hardest part. I say it all the time. Ideation is the most difficult, the most time consuming part of the entire posting process. What I would say that it's nothing impressive. It's a very chaotic process that I have. I go do whatever I do throughout the day, showings, go to work, go to the office, do admin, whatever it is. I come home, whenever, depending on my appointments. I sit on the chair in the corner of my room. I scroll through a couple videos on TikTok. Maybe I'll search up real estate Toronto, see kind of what topics are popular. And then I spend 15 minutes just basically sitting there trying to think of something. And once I come up with an idea that I think is half decent, then I just pick up my phone, record, 15 minutes later, do a quick edit and post. It wasn't like that at first. When I first started, it was definitely sit down, write out 10, 20 ideas every day. I'm going to go through and post each one. But and I would do the whole setup, like the get the ring light, make everything really set up the scene and try to make everything absolutely perfect, do great edits on it. And I just realized like A, that's way too time consuming. People don't actually care how crazy the edits are, how professional it looks. They just want to see, they just want to get the information. What are you talking about? Is it concise? Does it make sense? Is it interesting? And that's how I do it now. So now that's all I do. I literally get home, try to think about it, get frustrated when I can't think of an idea. Something finally pops into my head, or I see a news article, point, shoot, record, post. That's it. No, I only have like this clip on ring light that I put on my phone now.
So with the second process you have now, I could see it being like a lot more quote unquote like spontaneous and
I think
you just
that's what works. Spontaneity is the best thing that you can do for real estate TikTok now.
and when it comes to like making these videos, what you mentioned a little bit about like people don't really care about the edits. They care about like the information. Is it concise? Is it well delivered? Is it delivered in layman terms? How do you how do you think about like how often do you post? Because I know I think everyone starts out like posting like a heck
Yeah,
ton amount of like TikToks, and then as the business continues to grow, they started to uh, spend more time on like client activities or like client
yeah.
works or like showings, and they stop posting as much. Like, can you walk us through a little bit of like your own experience? Like, how has the platform been, and how are you spending time now?
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. That's basically how it goes. When you're just starting, you have all the time in the world just to ideate, post, edit, and that's how it is. You post every single day, and there's definitely been times where I go weeks. Even there was a time where I went months without posting. But you see the negative effects, right? As soon as I do that, people stop engaging with past posts. You don't get as many leads inbound week to week, and it's a little bit of I'm busy with clients and that's my priority because that's what's actually making money, and a little bit of I just can't think of anything. But honestly, if I had somebody who sent me just a list of 50 ideas that I liked that I could just bang 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 each, I could go through, record, edit 10 videos in one day to set up and schedule and post. But it's the ideas. Ideating is the bottleneck in this whole process. It's so hard to think of ideas.
There's also an element where like you have to stick within like real estate,
Yeah,
finances, and it's quite not helpful to make content outside of these boxes because
yeah.
they deviate.
It depends on your audience too, right? Like my stuff is very real estate focused, like education, case studies on multiplex investment opportunities, commercial real estate, residential real estate, house tours. So I there has been times where I've considered going towards a more personal route too, and not pivoting from real estate content, just kind of blending personal videos into that. Like, what do I do day to day? Just follow me on a day here. Go to restaurants. I guess all of this kind of does tie into real estate, though, too, right? Different neighborhoods you're looking for. Top three restaurants to try in Little Portugal, why this neighborhood is a good young family neighborhood or why this is a good retirement neighborhood. So I guess it kind of does blend now that you say that. I'm thinking about it that way, which is a good point. Maybe I should do that. And there are creators in Toronto who do that really, really well, who have real estate blended with personal, and it really works. The reason why I say it works and the way I've experienced it with clients is because when a client reaches out through TikTok or through Instagram, wherever it is, it's kind of like they already know who you are. And I think the more personal videos that you post, it amplifies that because people, it's more just verifying that you are who I think you are based on what I've seen you on social media, right? I think that's what's really good about having the personal videos and educational videos because people are like, I've already seen who you are. I'm just talking to you face to face, verification, just to make sure this is the person who I see on social media. And then that's pretty much it, which makes that process super quick and super easy, right? And then to your point, the type of video really does matter because there are a lot of people who just do strict house tours on social media. Don't really show their face. They might do a voiceover or something like that, which I know some people who have way bigger followings than I do because house tours, I know this, whenever I post a house tour, it does substantially better in terms of views, likes, comments, whatever, than any other video. But it doesn't really get the viewer to connect with you as a person. So yes, it might grow your channel. And maybe that's the business you're trying to get into, right? Maybe I'm going to do house tours, get a really big following, and charge people for house tours. Fine, sure, that's great. But I know some people who do that got huge followings, but they say I never get clients, and it's probably because if I had to assume, just because they don't really see you, they see the property, um, which was just a different vertical within real estate TikTok, which is completely fine. But that's how I found it works, right? Because people already know who I am because they see my face every day.
I see. It's like the question, what would you rather have like 100,000 followers, but your conversion rate is like 0.01%?
Exactly.
Or would you rather to have like a 20,000 followers, but you have like a 1 or 2% conversion rate?
Yeah. And what it is, like, I blend those two videos. So I blend house tours in with the educational content. The educational content is very, it's like social proof, right? People want to just see, excuse me, people want to just see that what you're talking about, even though those videos might not blow up to 100,000, 200,000 views. But it's those house tours that will get people to go onto my page and they say, oh, he doesn't just do house tours. He's talking a lot of educational content. Um, he knows what he's talking about. And a lot of the times when I get an email, it's not, hey, I saw the house tour you posted. It's, hey, I just found your TikTok, very educational. You seem like you really know what you're talking about. What do you think about XYZ? So that is the benefit that I found from it.
I see. And with you mentioned about the audience relationship. I do think it's interesting to talk about. You mentioned earlier about like getting like sponsor post requests or DMs
Yeah,
or like brand deals in a perfect world where like a creator doesn't rely on social media for an income, so
right.
that everything they post on social media are like purely his thoughts, like purely not incentivized by like
Yeah.
capital purposes. And do you think putting out sponsor posts or like brand deals are like one like ineffective user of your time, and two, it's like
Yeah.
it's diluting the value of what you present as a brand?
I could see that issue being a consideration, but for me, like the amount of sponsored posts I do are so few and far between. It's very rare. I decline, a lot of them just because they're companies that I don't think would fit well within the feed, or I don't really like them, don't really trust them. So, I'm not going to post them. And obviously, I want it to have some degree of value for the audience. If a company reaches out, I'm always thinking before I entertain this is what is the video going to look like? Is it actually going to be valuable to the clients, or to my audience? If not, then unless you're going to pay me 50 grand to post this video, which nobody will ever do, then I'm not going to post it. But I don't know, like when you have a follower base that's following you as a person, a lot of people, don't mind that you throw a sponsored post in there. They're, you know, get that bag with the sponsored post. Why not, right? And obviously, I don't do them for free, so it's overall fine. But I think because I post them very infrequently. Like maybe doing one or two even a year just is totally fine. And again, because I don't really need to, right? Because most of the business is from clients, which obviously has a much greater return than a sponsored post. But it doesn't hurt once in a while. I've never seen it negatively impact my engagement or follower count. So overall, it's been completely fine. but it is really selective with the people who reach out. Same with house tours too, though, right? Like a lot of people will ask, "Hey, can you come record a video at my listing?" Well, let me see the listing and I'll decide whether I want to record it. And if it's navigating that too, is it something, is it a place that I want to actually promote, or, is it worth my time to go see it? Are you going to pay me for it? Are you not going to pay me for it? So, but house tours, even though that's not really a sponsored post, sometimes they are. I don't really do sponsored house tours. Like I would rather just tour something that I really want to tour. Most of the house tours that I do, or condo tours, I'm actually reaching out saying, "Hey, I want to show this. Don't pay me anything. I want to go see it and post it because it's a stunning penthouse," um, which works out well.
I wanted to pick your brain on the idea with when you started making TikTok and you build a personal brand and people reach out to you with all type of requests, questions, for your opinions or for the house tours, etc. Of the clients that you work with in the real estate market, there is like residential, there's commercial, there's like
Yeah.
buy side, and there's the sell side. So, can you, I don't know if it's like information you're comfortable sharing. It's like, do you
How's the pie
see?
split?
Yeah, how's the pie split?
Yeah, I would say big part of the pie is buyers. A very big part of the pie is tenants, obviously being in Toronto. And then I would say, I don't know if I'm speaking like percentage wise, but smaller part of the pie is commercial. I'm actually trying to grow the commercial side a little bit more. I really, really like commercial, like office, industrial, commercial stuff. I've done the commercial mixed use with like retail, with the residential units up top. Done those. Those are pretty straightforward. But I like how complex an industrial deal gets, or an office space deal gets. Just coming from the finance background, everything's very black and white for a client. Is this going to make money? Is this not going to make money? It's very easy and straightforward. I say that commercial real estate is extremely complicated. But I want to get that portion a little bit bigger, and then sellers, yeah, sellers probably getting up there even with tenants, buyers. So yeah, that's probably how it's split pretty evenly. Commercial is probably the smaller section just because commercial real estate, like unless you start with a commercial brokerage, it's tough to kind of pivot into that space. So I'd like to grow that a little bit more. But yeah, that's how it's split. Buyers is definitely the biggest one, especially now, just because prices are pretty low.
Let's say if we look forward for a little bit, in the next few years or so, like where do you see yourself?
I'd like to start a team, and it's kind of getting to that point where I'm referring out a lot of business now because I just can't take it on. It's primarily leases that I just don't have the time to deal with, or maybe it's just a little too far outside of where I'm looking. I still want people to reach out to me, even if they're somebody's looking. Hey, I'm looking for a lease in Oakville or Burlington. I'm probably not going to service it myself, but reach out and I can refer you to team members that I work with at the brokerage. But again, like I don't have a formal team. I just have some agents that I always refer those clients that that I wouldn't be able to help out with. So it's kind of like an informal team environment, but I would definitely like to have a team eventually, just building a brand in that way. I don't know what I would call it. Maybe not Matt Phillips Realty, but I don't know. We'll see. The Phillips Group.
MP really
Yeah. MP Realty. MPR.
sounds pretty good. And also in the creator market, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like if you wanna continue to grab more of the market, there are kind
Hmm.
of like three ways that I thought it could be viable. So the first one, it's going from like residential to commercial, like you mentioned. Second way, it could be like going from like lower like core massive residential areas, which is like $1 million condos, to like 5 million condos, 10 million condos. And the
Yep.
third way is to like you mentioned, like growing the volume by hiring a team to handle the capacity. Is that generally the right thing to think about?
Yep. So I don't think part of that comes with a team, right? If let's say let's say somebody's main focus is residential real estate between 1 to 3 million, right? Obviously, you don't want to not service people outside of that range. You don't want to miss out on people commercial looking for commercial real estate. which is where the benefits of a team come in, right? Because then you can say, hey, I have a commercial agent. One of my team members are commercial focused. Let them help you, right? One of our team members does sub 1 million. Let them help you. Yeah, I fully agree. But you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to miss out on all those pieces of the pie. And you can still service those clients in a great way. But trying to do it all yourself could be a bit detrimental just because you don't want to spread yourself too thin. Hiring out tasks, get an assistant. It's very helpful to have people write contracts. There's a lot of times that I'm booked back to back all day, showings, closing visits, inspections, back to back, where I literally don't have time to even eat, right? So, what if appointment one, we finish and they say, yeah, I need to write an offer today? Okay, well, I'm on back to back appointments for the rest of the day. So, hire out those tasks sometimes. Get an assistant that you could just text. Hey, can you write up an offer for this client? Send it to me so I can review it on my way to another appointment or while I have some downtime for 15 minutes to review everything. So that's a huge, huge part that could really help.
And let's say if you start building out a team, hiring out for different activities, do you think that would have any implications on your TikTok?
It would help me post more. Maybe I'll have a team member that's dedicated to social media management. Right now, I think I could still handle everything myself, and I do. But eventually, yeah, like if things get where I'm spread way too thin, then yeah, that would absolutely help for sure. But beyond that, too, like networking is a huge part of it. Like going to events, obviously, having just gone to university is a huge, huge helper in just networking and meeting people even though you only need high school to get your license. A lot of people ask that too, or do you need to go to university to get your real estate license? You don't need to. I think it really, really. I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am right now, having not gone. But yeah, to your point, networking is a huge part, and I think anybody like if you have a team that can free up more of your time. Time is money in the game, right? So the more time you have to meet people, talk to people, do administrative tasks or build your social media, the better you're going to do, the more money you're going to make.
That's a great vision for NPR.
Yeah, for sure.
And to close it off, like I like to ask our guest this question is, if you have to reflect back to Matt, just like coming out of university, just started posting TikTok back in April 2021, what piece of advice would you tell him?
I would say don't say no to any opportunity. Somebody at the office needs help. Maybe they have excess leads. Take them. Just get in front, talk to more people is actually what I would say. Go to networking events, talk to more people. You never know who you're going to meet. Don't I would say don't be afraid to spend money to network. So whether that's taking people out for dinner, paying to go to that conference, whatever it is, do it. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. When you're a brand new agent, you just spend $8,000 and you're spending another $300 a month, $400 a month just to be licensed at your brokerage. That's easier to say. I would say just think of everything that you do or whatever you spend is an investment back into your business and just create a game plan day to day, create your routine, which I actually think is a big one now that I say that. When you first get licensed, it's very lonely. You don't even know what you're supposed to do day to day because, again, you work for yourself. There's not a boss going to be like, you have to do XYZ today because you don't. You could sit there, do nothing. Nobody cares. You're still paying to work there. So they don't care. Right. So I would say come up with like a daily routine, wake up, follow ups, after lunch, prospecting, after work, showings. So I would say that routine is going to be so important.
I see. Is there any glimpse of what Matt's routine's looking like these days?
Wake up, go to the gym, come back, make breakfast, go to the office, do work throughout the day if I don't have showings during the day, but do, write up offers, go through any follow ups that I have in my CRM, do that for a little bit. Maybe think of social media content. Maybe go out for lunch with a client or something. Same thing for the afternoon, follow ups, prospecting. And then showings are usually 4 to 6 o'clock, 4 to 7 o'clock. Then go home, cook dinner, go to bed,
And make a TikTok.
and make a TikTok. Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. Get home, make a TikTok, cook dinner, and then go to bed.
When you following this kind of routine and when you're self-employed, I think at least at the very beginning, you might feel very consumed by
Yeah.
the edge because like you're already down like 8,000 to begin with, and you're paying just to be like 7 point.
Oh yeah.
And it's definitely gonna be stressful. You're gonna think about work like 24/7. Like,
Hmm.
how do you wind yourself down, or like how do you prevent from burning out?
Yeah. That is it is tough. Even my girlfriend will attest to, you know, bringing work home where you're laying in bed at 10 o'clock and you get a text message and you obviously shouldn't be responding to it because that is not healthy to be working in your bed at, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. You do need wind down time because it'll just be all consuming at times. But yeah, I think setting your schedule. A lot of more senior agents have actually that are really successful in the business that I've talked to have told me I've stopped doing appointments on Sunday afternoons. Somebody asks, I'm booked. I spend time with my family and whatnot. Between 5 to 6:30, I don't do. Some people will say I don't do any appointments. I sit down, have dinner with my family and whatnot. Even though it's a hustle, it's a grind. You work for yourself. You have to do everything you can to get business. And I think you should do that in your first year or so. But once you've kind of set everything up and you really need to still take time for yourself. And like you were saying, it is stressful after you just spent all that money to get licensed. You need to make that back pretty quick, especially just to survive. Which is why a lot of people recommend having a 6 month savings of all your expenses before you decide to get licensed because you could go 6 months without making any money, with losing money. Having said that, and even though there is a hustle, I think if you burn yourself out, it's pointless, right? So you still need to take time for yourself.
That's excellent. And with that, I just wanted to wrap it up by saying thank you so much for sharing your insights and perspective with creating on TikTok, building a creator as a creator, behind the scene, the insider perspective of like how the industry works and where you think you're gonna go in the future.
For
So
sure. Thank you for having me. I
appreciate that.
really appreciate it.
So that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. All the links and resources will be shared in the descriptions. And if you'd like to support the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating on whichever platform that you're on. It would help us a ton to reach new audiences. Thank you so much for listening. And again, I see you in the next one.